Hello everyone, and welcome back to our channel. Today, we are diving into a story that has sparked outrage, debate, and political fire across South Africa, a story that touches on immigration, Afrikaner identity, land reform, and the ever-controversial Julius Malema. So buckle up, because this episode goes deep into the heart of South Africa's political tension and the complex emotions surrounding land ownership and national identity. Recently, a group of 49 Afrikaners reportedly packed their bags and left South Africa for the United States. According to various media outlets and AfriForum, a prominent civil rights organization that advocates primarily for Afrikaner interests, the reason behind this mass departure was a combination of crime, economic instability, and growing fears about the erosion of Afrikaner cultural identity. They claim that life in South Africa has become unbearable for some white South Africans, and this departure is simply a symptom of a deeper crisis brewing beneath the surface. But economic freedom fighters, EFF, leader Julius Malema is having none of it. At a recent press conference, Malema dismissed the entire situation as a theatrical stunt. According to him, these 49 individuals weren't victims of a failing state or rising insecurity. No, in his words, they were nothing more than actors in what he called a staged publicity campaign orchestrated by AfriForum to generate sympathy, stir panic, and promote the idea that white South Africans are under siege. Malema went even further. In a moment that has already gone viral, he provocatively called on AfriForum CEO Kelly Creel and spokesperson Ernst Roets to follow their so-called followers and move to America themselves. Lead by example, he said, if you really believe white South Africans are being driven out of their homeland. But the statement that truly sent shockwaves across the country came next. Malema demanded the addresses of the farms these Afrikaners allegedly left behind, saying, "We will make a plan for them." To many, this sounded like a thinly veiled reference to the EFF's land expropriation policy. The party has long championed the idea of taking land, particularly farmland owned by white South Africans, without compensation, as a means to correct what they see as the lingering injustices of apartheid and colonial dispossession. So when Malema says, "We'll make a plan," it's not hard to read between the lines. AfriForum, unsurprisingly, responded with fury. They accused Malema of inciting division and trivializing the very real fears and hardships faced by Afrikaner communities. They argue that Malema's rhetoric is not just politically irresponsible, it's dangerous. According to them, dismissing emigration as a hoax ignores the fact that thousands of skilled South Africans, of all races, are choosing to leave the country because of crime, corruption, and a lack of faith in the future. This back and forth has reignited one of South Africa's most sensitive debates, land reform. The land issue is emotional, historical, and unresolved. For many black South Africans, the pain of dispossession still runs deep. Land is not just property, it's dignity, livelihood, and a connection to ancestry. On the other hand, for many white farmers, particularly Afrikaners, their farms represent generational heritage and the only home they've ever known. Balancing these competing truths has proven to be one of the greatest challenges of post-apartheid South Africa. Malema's comments, while incendiary, align with the EFF's broader strategy. With elections on the horizon, he's working to energize his support base by portraying the EFF as the only party willing to tackle the land issue head-on. His language is often provocative, but it's calculated, designed to dominate headlines, trigger reaction, and remind his followers that the fight for land justice remains central to the EFF's mission. But critics warn that this strategy comes at a cost. Political analysts have pointed out that such rhetoric, while effective in mobilizing voters, also deepens South Africa's already fractured society. When Malema calls Afrikaner immigrants actors, or when he jokes about taking their farms, he's not just mocking political opponents, he's pouring fuel on a fire that's been smoldering for decades. And in a country already plagued by racial tension, economic inequality, and political instability, that kind of language is a dangerous game. There's also the global dimension to consider. Stories of white South Africans fleeing the country, especially when framed as white genocide by far-right international figures, have been seized upon by foreign media, often with little context. Back in 2018, for instance, former US President Donald Trump tweeted about land seizures and farm killings in South Africa, echoing claims made by white nationalist groups. That tweet was widely condemned as misleading and inflammatory, but it showed just how quickly South African politics can become global clickbait. This latest incident, with 49 Afrikaners reportedly leaving the country, is now being added to that narrative. Whether they're truly fleeing persecution or simply looking for better economic opportunities abroad, the optics are powerful. And Malema's response, intentionally or not, feeds into a growing culture war that pits historical redress against perceived reverse discrimination. So where does the truth lie? It's fair to acknowledge that many white South Africans, including Afrikaners, genuinely feel under pressure. Whether from crime, economic decline, or affirmative action policies, their anxieties are real, even if not always universally shared. But it's also true that these fears are sometimes weaponized by political groups like AfriForum to build a case for victimhood, often without acknowledging the broader structural injustices that gave rise to South Africa's inequality in the first place. Malema, for his part, thrives on controversy. He's built a political brand on saying what others won't or can't say. And while that makes him a powerful voice for some, it also makes him a polarizing figure in a country desperately in need of unity and healing. The government, so far, has remained largely silent on the matter. There's been no official comment on either the immigration of the 49 Afrikaners or Malema's provocative statements. But silence doesn't mean indifference. As the elections draw nearer, these debates over land, identity, and justice will become even more central to the national conversation. Whether you're a supporter of the EFF, AfriForum, or just an ordinary South African trying to make sense of it all, one thing is clear: the battle over South Africa's land is far from over. And in the words of one analyst, it's not just about who owns the land, it's about who belongs. Thank you for watching today's deep dive. If you found this video insightful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and drop a comment below. Do you think Malema was out of line, or is he just telling a hard truth that others are afraid to say? We want to hear your thoughts. See you next time.